All right, welcome to the YouTube side. I'm streaming on Zoom and YouTube, so give me a few minutes while I get everything together. But welcome in. Tonight, we're going to be talking about understanding the paying side of assisted living facilities. And also, we're going to be going on to tips to finding private pay clients. So before I get too deep into it, I'm just going to check that people can see and hear me, and I'm going to send this link out. So give me just 1 second, guys. We're getting it together. We're excited. I'm ready to go tonight. I'm going to have just get my husband to check the YouTube stream as well on YouTube to make sure that he can see and hear me well. And I appreciate y'all's patience in the meantime. So we got some good stuff tonight. I'm really excited to share. While I am finishing up setting up this YouTube correctly, give me one quick moment. All right, and let me just change a few options for the live stream. Just gonna customize it. Okay. All right. Okay, so we've got this live stream going as well. Okay, we're just about ready to start. Back on the live stream side. All right, YouTube looks good. Thank you. All right, well, welcome in, guys. My name is Tiffany Neal. I'm a bachelor's prepared registered nurse who started the Next Level Nurses. I want to welcome you all in tonight to Monday Night Live. I'm a little bit of a night owl. You've probably began to figure that out because I be streaming anywhere between starting at like 7 Eastern Standard Time and 10 Eastern Standard Time. So thanks for bearing with me on that. I help untraditional students like myself get into nursing school and really enjoy and thrive in those classes and clinicals. I also help bedside nurses and other healthcare professionals pivot into healthcare businesses, specifically assisted living facilities, because that's what I have the most experience in. So my husband and I, we started our assisted living facility in 2018. We started with one home. It was a town home. We got a license for 7 residents. We branched out into a second property, which was a single family home that we also got licensed and listed in the state registry. And we really enjoyed what we did. Now we do consulting because I am in grad school. But I did all of that even before I went to nursing school. So I kind of had a clinical background. I wanted to get more hands-on. So that's how I ended up being an untraditional student. I was in my mid-30s, already successful and enjoying running a business. And I said, I want to get more hands-on training. I want to really get into it. And so that's how I ended up in nursing school and now in psych and P school. So a little housekeeping before we get into tonight's topic. Welcome in. I'm glad you're here. Let me know where you're from, what you're interested in. If you're in the Zoom room, you can chat with me. If you're on the YouTube side, you can't chat with me because I can't manage the 2 different chats. I'm sorry. I'm not that advanced yet. But the link to register for the Zoom, to get into the Zoom room should be in the description of any recent video and hopefully in the description of this live. If not, I'll find out. So tonight is a little topsy-turvy. Like last Monday, I usually go live on the Zoom only, but then I decided to start pushing them out to YouTube as well and broadcasting on YouTube too directly from the Zoom. So in the Zoom live, which you can register for, a little email alert every Monday before I go live, no one can see each other in the Zoom. Like you can't see each other's names and you can't see each other's comments. And I do that for privacy reasons. I have colleagues that attend these lives for training. I have friends and family that attend these lives for training. I have preceptors, teachers, faculty that attend these lives and training. And I don't want to put anybody's business on Front Street. If they're ready to make business moves, if they're ready to go into, a different domain than they're currently in, I want everybody to be private. But you can chat to me and other panelists should I have a panel up here in the Zoom room. So feel free to ask questions throughout. Go ahead. I'm the only person that can see participants. Pop into the chat what burning questions you have. But tonight we're going to be talking about understanding assisted living, private pay. How much do these clients pay? How to find clients, where to find clients, how to build relationships with other medical professionals to get referrals for clients. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen a little bit off and on during this live. Okay. So again, we're talking about how to understand assisted living facility pay and how to find clients. So tonight we're going to go through a few different things. We're going to go over the median number nationally of what private pay clients are paying. We're going to talk about different ways to affect negatively and positively what you're charging for your rate in your facility. We're going to talk about the importance of having your media kit prepared when you have licensed a home while you're in the process of licensing a home, because to be honest, some of your media kits should be prepared before you are licensed so that you are ready to hit the street, hit the ground running, as they say. I'll talk about the essential parts of a media kit so that people can see your vision. They'll get your card, they'll get your brochure, they'll get your email, and they'll say, hey, I'm a social worker. I want to put clients in this house. This person knows what they're doing. The house is set up beautifully. I'm ready to be a referral source. We'll talk about some channels to get referrals and how to vet people that you're getting referrals from, because not all referrals are created equal. So without further ado, I'm actually going to present this. Let's go to slideshow mode from the current slide. There we go. Hold on one second, guys. I put some cloves in this tea. It's not working out well for me. Hold on for just a moment. Had to pause my video there. Okay. And I'm back. And I do want to make sure as I'm showing this that I can also see the chat as well. It seems like it put me in presentation mode where I can't actually see everything that I want to see. Okay. So we're going to start with a question. What do we think the last year's medium monthly assisted living cost was? Was it $3,500, $4,500, $5,000, $350, $6,500? What are we thinking? And I can see the chat here. Okay, somebody said, hey, C looks different than everything else. So I'm going to guess that. Somebody said C. Okay, perfect. You are correct. Whoever said C, yes, you are correct. This is the US median for what people are paying for assisted living facilities. This is going to be per month, per client. The median is really the floor of the conversation, if you ask me. Your rate can go up and down based on a few different aspects. You as an owner, what you're bringing to the table, what your staff is able to do, what your specialty is, and how boutique of a facility you can create, okay? So talking about the different rate levers, the things that can adjust your rates higher or lower than the median. The first lever is who you are as the owner. Your credentials, your experience, your years in is going to impress and attract your clients to you, your residents to you, your resident families to you. So if you are a healthcare professional, that's one of those things that's going to increase the rate because you have experience. You are well trained clinically. You can recognize emergencies faster. You understand standard of care better than the general public, than a general owner that's just coming with business experience. That is something that families feel comfortable with, residents feel comfortable with. Also, you don't necessarily have to be a professional, a medical professional, to still have experience in a specific population. So if you have hands-on experience, sometimes it can be like a tech or like a CNA, but sometimes it can also just be volunteering or working in a similar type of facility that can add towards your value as an owner and be one of those things that help people feel very comfortable with you. So if you have hands-on experiences with working with our older adults, working with people who have dementia, Alzheimer's, people who have certain psych disorders, or clients who are needing physical rehab, that is going to be a benefit for you. If you have specialized training in any of those fields as well, that's going to be a benefit too. And if you continue your education with active learning, you're going to conferences, right? You may be speaking at conferences. You may be a subject expert in a particular field that's related to your ideal resident. That is something that needs to be highlighted, and that can be a lever to get a higher monthly amount than the median, right? The second lever is you want to have, staff that's adequately trained. So if you have a delegating nurse, this can be called something else, an assessment nurse in other states. In Maryland, it's a delegating nurse. They have to come out typically once every 45 days. But if you have a nurse who's doing rounds and hands-on assessments or even virtual assessments more often than that state minimum, that is going to increase the value of your facility because someone is checking the resident, their vitals, their psychosocial functioning. They're checking, for skin integrity, if they are someone who's struggling with mobility or someone who is incontinent, so they're, likely to have skin breakdown. That's someone that has eyes on them to do a full assessment more often than the state requirements, right? So there are some things that are routine. It's going to be every 45 days if the person is having medication administered to them. If they are self-administering, then I believe it's 90 days. They are going to always be assessed at intake. They're always going to be assessed if they go to the hospital and then come back to the facility. And then, of course, the ALM, which is the assistant living manager, is going to meet with their delegating nurse twice a year. But if you are able to offer an assessment more frequently, every 15 days, every 30 days, that's going to be impressive. And it's going to increase the level of care that you're able to provide the resident, and thus it will increase the rate for the resident to pay. All right. If you have specialists as well that have a specific clinical depth in an area, that can raise your rate. So if you have in-house, if it's a psych facility, if you have in-house art therapy every other week or group therapy, with the other residents once a month for those who opt in. If you have the pharmacy do in-house pharmacy reviews, as you know, medication reconciliation can get very hectic, and especially for our older adults and for our patients that are on psychiatric medications and other high-risk medications, we want to be checking that record. If you have someone doing that in-house or that's able to come and do that as a service, that is a specialist that can raise your facility rates because it's raising the safety of all of the residents in that facility. Okay. And one second. If you have in-house occupational therapy, if you have a wound care RN, let's say your facility specializes in like more of a rehab type of resident, you are going to want to highlight that in your media kit that you're giving people. And that is something that can raise the rates because it's raising the safety level, it's raising the quality of care for the resident, and it may be something that is really needed and desired. But don't just focus in on the staff credentials as far as, mental health specialists or rehab specialists. You want to also look at the psychosocial needs of your residents too. You want to look at that social enrichment aspect, which is something that any assisted living owner can do. If you are able to take your residents out on a regular schedule to a park, to a movie, to a museum, things that are mentally stimulating and enriching, that is going to be a benefit. If you build that into the daily flow, the weekly flow, the monthly flow, if you are able to incorporate family and friends and community into some of the activities that you do, a lot of people, you think of a family that's ready to put a loved one in assisted living, and the stereotypical image in your mind is not always accurate. People, especially elders that are being placed, feel like, oh, my kids or my grandkids want to throw me in here and they never want to see me again. When the truth is, families want to have some structured activities to do with their loved ones. They want to visit, and maybe have some of the pressure of the situation taken off by having them visit for an activity to do together, having a family picnic, where everyone gets to meet other people's family, their kids, their siblings, their grandkids, etc. Any type of fun night or outing, memory lane nights where you have their specific decades music and media from that era, and being able to provide that, so the benefits and the specialists and the special things that you can do for residents to make life more enjoyable, it can be on the clinical side or it can be on the psychosocial side as well. Both are important, and both of those are things that can affect that lever of how much you're charging for your assisted living facility. And the fourth and final lever is going to be the actual facility itself. Does your facility have specific features that help with accessibility? For my first assisted living facility that I actually was an assistant manager and then a manager in was one that was focused on veterans. It was not focused on elders. It was focused on veterans that had psychiatric needs. So these veterans were anywhere between, I believe, 35 years old and 50 years old. They were very independent. They went out a lot. They liked to do their own activities. They went to, daycare centers or like activity centers often. So for them, being near a bus route, a train route, public transit is definitely a benefit. They have those benefits that they've earned. They want to use them. They want to get out into the world and explore, and then have a safe place to come home to at night. So higher functioning residents are going to value their independence. They're going to want to keep their routines similar to the routines they had before they were in the assisted living facility. So that matters. And if your facility is close to those things and that's what your population is interested in, you definitely should highlight that. If you have transportation to like adult daycare programs or day programs that offer that enrichment, that offer fun and games and puzzles and socializations, all of that type of stuff, if you have that built into your facility where you already have someone who does that transportation at a certain time every day to take people to the facilities that they've chosen, then that is going to be a benefit itself. Also, if you have, ramps, you have wide walls that can fit wheelchairs, you have chair lifts, and when I'm saying a chair lift, I'm speaking specifically like the ones that go up stairwells where you can sit at the bottom of the stairwell and go up, or you can sit at the top and it'll bring you down. If you have residents that have physical disabilities and mobility issues, that's going to be something of interest to them. Okay. And so, of course, we're just checking in with you. Which lever do you think shifts the rate the most? And I'm actually going to stop sharing for just a second to really make sure I get your full attention. Um, Do you think it's who you are, your credentials, the facility day to day inside, or the building? What do you think is the most important there? And the answer actually is it's all of those things. They all matter. They all shift the rate towards a more boutique, more specialized facility. Someone said, "You got me." Yeah, that was a little trick question. I'm trying to get you guys to answer. I think it depends on your population as well. If your population is a very niche group of people that have very specific needs, it may be that your support staff is more important than anything else. So if you take patients that have, let's say, a history of cancer, right? And that can be a specialty. You take patients that have a history of cancer or other autoimmune issues and things like that. What they have access to in-house may be the most important thing, especially if they're going through active cancer, they're getting chemo, they're getting radiation. That may be the most important thing to the resident and to their family, is that I need to know that you have people in-house. I want to have a facility where instead of a CNA or a live-in medication tech, I want there to be a nurse on site 24/7 or 12 hours a day. I need to know that someone is there that can lay eyes on my loved one. I need to know maybe that someone is there that can administer specific medications. That may be important for certain populations, people who need to take sensitive, risky medications like blood thinners. You know, that is something that may make or break your rate and your ability to properly service that community. So, just on that, we're going to move forward. One more second. We got more cloves, guys. I'll learn not to do this again in the future. They taste so good and they are beneficial to your blood pressure. They have some anti-inflammatory properties too, so that's why I put them in here. So now to the juicy part of the live. What everybody wants to know, okay, how are we actually finding these clients? How are we finding these unicorns that want to do private pay? So first of all, private pay clients are not unicorns. They are actually the majority of assisted living clients. Um, the majority of them are private pay clients, okay? So I'm going to talk about 4 channels and I'm going to let you guys know this for free. I found these things out more through trial and error. I had to figure out what routes were going to be fruitful and successful, how to nurture those relationships, and how to come to like a mutual understanding. And it took years. It took a long time. It took other consultants. It took a lot of advice from people who were in business for a very long time, but were used to doing things the old school way. It took mistakes and also being in a network of assisted living facilities helped because I got to learn from other people's trial and error too. So finding private pay clients. The first channel that I suggest is going to, well, before we contact anybody, we want to have our media kit together. So what goes in a media kit? You want to be clear with yourself, with your staff, who you are, who you serve, your amenities, the level of care that you can provide, your mission statement. You want to highlight what makes you stand out above the average facility. You want to have your LinkedIn ready. You want to have your website ready. You want to have a one-page brochure ready, your business card, and your fee schedule. And your fee schedule is just going to be your rate of pay for private room, semi-private room, per level of care. You also want to have lots and lots and lots of pictures of the facility. You want to have lots and lots of pictures. So once you have all of this together, or most of this together, but preferably all of it together, then you're going to want to reach out to your channels. You want to talk to social workers. You want to talk to discharge nurses and discharge planners. Okay. Those are the people that they're talking to families every hour of every day. And they're talking to people that are making decisions about, hey, this last fall has been a doozy for mom. I don't feel comfortable with her living alone again. Or maybe we have been taking care of mom or dad in our guest suite and they took the wrong meds. And now we're in the hospital for a potential overdose or serotonin syndrome or something of that nature, right? They mixed this med with this med. They're in the hospital. They're talking to families that are undergoing these situations every single hour of every day that they're there. So talking to them, visiting with them on a regular basis with your media kit, with information about your facility availability, how many beds you have available, is the room private, is it semi-private, with photos, that's really important. You want to have a dedicated line for them to reach you with inquiries. You want them to be able to say, I know when I call Tiffany, when I call Janet, when I call James, when I call Steven, that I'm going to get a response within the hour. I'm going to get a response before my shift ends on if they can take this client or not. It's really important to be timely. You want to be available ideally once you've made a good connection and you're able to get referrals, that if it's a client that would be a good fit for your facility, that you're able to go on site and do a same day assessment, like using the resident assessment tool. You want to be able to visit them and do a lunch and learn, do a 30-minute lunch, cater it, talk about something specific to their population, right? And put a plug into your facility. And you want to follow up with them as well. You want to nurture that connection. You want to nurture the connection. You want to email them regularly. You want to follow up with tips that are specific to who they serve and where they serve. So you don't want to spam them. Everyone talks about giving value. You want to make sure that what you're sharing with them is valuable to them. Okay. So if you're sending them an email once a week, once a month, maybe they work with a lot of elders that are hard of hearing. You want to send some email tips like a newsletter. Hey, these are some tips to help hard of hearing adults feel safer at home. Here are some ways to foolproof your setup to make sure that they are as included as they can be. Maybe you want to include some tips to help healthcare workers reduce their stress level as they're dealing with families that are stressed out all day. Maybe you want to provide some resources for that. I'm just off the cuff here. Maybe you're not a medical professional, but you are associated with mental health through maybe you do art therapy, maybe you're a yoga instructor, or maybe a fitness instructor. And you're thinking, I want to have a fitness-based assisted living facility for seniors that are active, okay? Or for people who have different disabilities that are active. And this is something that I do. So maybe you approach social workers and say, I'm going to do a 30-minute yoga session for you guys because I know it's stressful. I know you're dealing with stressed out families all the time. Let me offer this to you and let me tell you about my facility and drop off a few brochures for you. And if you happen to have any clients that their main point of friction for assisted living is, oh, I don't want to go somewhere and sit around all day and waste away. You can say, my facility is different. We have in-house personal trainers that come in and work with you, whether you have injuries or limitations. We'll modify things for you. We go on a hike every Saturday morning at a different location. We go, play tennis. These are all things, I haven't seen these things before, but I know of individuals that would be interested in going to a facility like that or having a relative go to a facility like that. So, You do want to talk to discharge planners. You do want to talk to social workers as well. You may want to consider speaking to, and I'm going to share again, elder law and estate planning attorneys. It is very hard to get FaceTime with these individuals because they're extremely skilled, they're extremely busy, they are booked and blessed, okay? So you may need to talk to the paralegal, to the secretary, and bring something useful to the table to introduce yourself. So you want to, identify the right firms, make sure that it is someone who has contact with families or individuals that are planning those next steps, because that may include going into an assisted living facility. There may be, or there are some families who have to do estate planning and who have to do what's called a spin down of their assets to qualify to get assistance, additional assistance in paying for assisted living facilities. So once you find the right firms that have overlap with your desired population, you want to go ahead and send a gift basket to them. You don't want to send a bunch of fluff. Maybe figure out what the firm likes. Figure out from talking to the secretary, the paralegal, what could you guys use around the office? What do you like to snack on? They may bite, they may not bite, but all else fails, I feel like always sending a snack, a fruit basket, something like that is kind of classic. Some chocolate. You may want to consider something like that. And with that gift, maybe include a brochure that says a little bit about who you are, what you do, what you offer. You want to volunteer to speak at any client events that they have if there's a lot of overlap, because you are then a resource and they like being able to tell their families that they represent, hey, I have a resource. I have nurses that specialize in dementia, in Alzheimer's care. And she is more than happy to be a resource to you and help guide you through how to select a safe facility for your mom, for your dad, for your grandma, for your granddad. That's something where you're kind of both being willing to offer value to each other. And you may find that you should refer back to them as well. Situations and families change, and someone may have said, oh, I think I'm only going to do assisted living for this period of time, or while my kids remodel their home, or while we figure out where we're going to move, and etc. Things can get drawn out. Timelines can shorten, people can relocate, and they may need to talk to an estate planner. Also, individuals that are in our homes, they can have a change of status where they're able to make that decision on their own and go into the assisted living facility, but then their mental capacity changes while they're there. And then their family needs a little bit of help navigating, well, it's time to get a power of attorney because they're not quite themselves. It's time to think about guardianship while they're still there and can agree to it. We need to get an attorney to go over these things pretty quickly. So it can be a really good reciprocal relationship. So this is a channel I would definitely suggest. Also, geriatric care managers, if this is available in your area, it may be called something else. But for these people, they are paid out of pocket by families to go through individual options and to just guide them through resources, through signing up with Medicare and Medicaid, things like that. So they're available to do this. I would say if you are trying to contact them, I'm going to stop sharing for a second so I really get your full attention. If you are willing to work with geriatric care managers, you want to specialize your communication with them. These people are tapped in potentially to your residents that you want to work with. You want to offer them specialized private tours of your facility. You want to be able to give them a walkthrough one-on-one to address their specific concerns. These geriatric care managers can either be social workers or they can be nurses or nurse practitioners, but either way, they are clinically trained, okay? So have information ready. They may be asking questions more about staffing as opposed to, oh, the decor in here is nice. They may be asking questions about how do you keep your medications from getting used by other clients or from being taken from someone who's unauthorized. They're going to ask questions about medication management. They're going to ask questions about safety. They're going to ask questions about resident care plans and what your policies and procedures are. These are peers. They're not just a referral source. So you want to, give them the respect due and not be offended if they really dig into specifics of the facility to ensure that you can take care of the families that have entrusted them and that are paying them out of pocket for guidance, okay? And the last group I would say that you can use, and I always call this the quick and clean way, is referral agencies, right? It's easy breezy, it's fast. They are paid to refer clients or residents to facilities. They're paid by the facility. Typically, they take 1 to 3 months of what you would charge. They split that over time, and then you have that client for the duration of as long as they're happy to stay in your facility. So they respond pretty quickly. You want to send them your specifications. Hey, I like psych patients. I am not able to take anyone in a wheelchair or with a walker. I'm not able to take anyone bedbound, or I'm not able to take anyone on these medications because I do not have staff that can administer it safely. You give them all of those specs. It's a fast channel. They can fill your home pretty quickly, but you want to make sure that you work with good referral agencies. You have to vet them closely. I didn't put this on the slide, but I almost did put a name of a specific referral agency. If you Google elder care referral, they're going to be in the number one spot probably for a sponsored answer for that. They come up right away, and they have been scrutinized for steering families towards very high paying facilities so that they get a kickback from them, and not high quality or very safe facilities. So you want to work with agencies that the families like them. The families see that they're serving the community and not anyone who's like a pariah, okay, in the community. You want to offer walkthroughs for them. If you're doing a referral agency, they may require a walkthrough often before they work with you. They're not just going to go based on what you tell them. They're going to say, we need to see it in person. We need to see the location. We need to see the curb appeal of the home. We need to see what's in the home, what features you have, because their reputation is on the line. So they're going to vet things directly. So this is someone else you want to provide a private tour at their earliest convenience. And once you establish a relationship with them and they say, hey, the facility looks nice, I understand who you're servicing, you want to be quick with them like you do with the social workers as well. You want to guarantee, I will respond within 1 business day. I will respond within 6 hours once you send me a referral. They have a job to do. This isn't something where they have a bunch of time for you to pontificate. Oh, do I want to take this client or not? My age cutoff is 70, but the client is 71. This is, they got a job to do. You want to respect their time. You don't have to make a split-second decision, but you do want to be respectful of their time when you are going through the referral agency route, okay? So I want to know, for people who are already open or ready to be open or have an idea in your mind of exactly what you want to do, which of these channels do you think realistically is going to be the most beneficial to you? Do you see working with the discharge planners and showing up at the hospital, or showing up at the VA if veterans are your residents? Do you see working with the attorneys, the elder care managers, referral agencies? Like, okay, somebody said referral agencies. They said, I'm trying to get my house full immediately. I'm ready for my clients yesterday. The referral agencies is the fastest way because there's no deep, intricate relationship building, right? So it's like, hey, if you get licensed, you got 10 beds, the going rate in your area is a cool, 7,500 per client, and you are like, hey, I'm ready to start yesterday. then maybe you begin with a referral agency, and then as you get more clients in, you can consider, all right, well, I'm also going to talk to discharge planners. I'm also going to, get an attorney or two that I build a relationship with, etc. But it really is kind of a pick your own adventure situation. So I just want to thank you guys. I want to open the floor for any lingering questions from tonight's live stream. But I also want to thank you for hanging out with me. You guys can set your rate. Now we've talked about how do you set your rate? How do you justify your rate? How do you match your rate with your specialty? Now you know how to do that. You know what goes into a media kit now. You know what 4 channels you can talk to for referrals, and now you know how to talk to them, how to speak in their language and make sure you're in the spaces that they're in and how to chat with them. So to keep going, you guys come on and visit me at thenextlevelnurses.com. You know I do consulting, you know I do training, you know I love to gab and to give you all the secrets, to spill the beans. So come talk to me. I also am working on a guide, sort of like an ALF intro guide, but we're going through a lot during these lives. So by the end of these lives, this may just very well be a course. But stay tuned for upcoming live sessions. I know I mentioned I'm going to go live every Monday. I may switch that to every other Monday because I got some loyals in the Zoom, but I want to make sure that I'm coming and I'm impactful and I'm presenting information that's very valuable and that these topics are worthwhile and that you guys are able to tune in. All right. So I don't see any questions in there. Thank you for joining. Thank you for staying. Have a wonderful night, guys, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.